Once you've gone ahead and you've experimented with the selection tools and you have cut out your three shapes, so your horse, your Dora, and your Swiper the fox, then what you need to do is also open your background images that are provided in Photoshop to start making your collage. So what I'm going to do from here once I have everything prepped and ready is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be opening a new document. So I'm going to go up to File, New, just like you did with your kaleidoscope project. And I'm going to make sure that I have my width set for inches. And I'm going to use 11 for the width. And I'm going to use 8.5 for the height. And 300 pixels per inch since that's our print resolution. And I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So I've got a blank canvas here now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by adding the backgrounds to my canvas. Now, you don't have to use both, but say that I want kind of a combination between the sky here and the grassy hills here. What I can do is I can go ahead and I can, with my Move tool, which is again that top tool on the toolbar, I can pull the tab apart, I can drag and drop my picture onto my canvas, and I can go ahead and use my transform command of Command T, just like you did with your kaleidoscope project, to then get my handle so that I can stretch this across the canvas. Now, since this doesn't really matter if it gets skewed a little bit, I didn't hold the shift key down and I just made it fit. But if you were concerned about it actually fitting on here and looking like having the correct proportions, you can always hold the shift key down. So I'm going to now stack this backdrop on top by again separating the tab, dragging it over using Command T, and stretching it over the top here. So now I've got both of these layers layered on top of each other, and what I can do now is I can erase in order to show the grassy hill through. So now I have two ways of working, and layer order makes a difference. So if I have the hills on the bottom, then I want to make sure that I choose my eraser tool, and I'm going to turn my opacity up a bit and make sure I have a nice soft edge, and I can come in here and I can start erasing until I see the sky. Now for me, this is a little more difficult of a way to work because I can't see where that sky starts very easily, and I end up with some harsh lines. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to switch the layer order, and I'm going to put the hills on top of the sky that I'm looking to have, and I'm going to go ahead and use my eraser tool, and now I can erase up to those hills like so, revealing that lovely sky in underneath with a less harsh line. And again, using a soft eraser brush with the opacity that's been turned down just a little bit, I can get up close to my edge and not have it look too obvious that I've erased maybe a little bit of the hill. Once you have your background looking the way that you would like, then you're going to want to make sure you switch back to your Move tool. And now I need to move my cutouts onto my background. So a key to doing this that's helpful and will keep you from accidentally dragging the wrong layer over is to make sure that you've hidden the background layer by clicking on that eyeball, so you just see your selection. So then I'm going to, just like we did with our kaleidoscope project, I'm going to go ahead and grab my Dora. I'm going to drag it apart so it's in a separate window so that I can see it, and then I can just drag and drop Dora onto my canvas here into the background. Now the transform command, so Command T, will allow me to stretch Dora, but with that, being that it's a person or a cartoon person, I want to hold the shift key down as I transform it. Otherwise, you can make her really thin or really wide. So I want to lock those proportions. And once I get it to the size that I want, I'm going to double click to place it, and then I can move her around on that canvas. So the horse, I'm going to go ahead and pull that tab apart, move the horse over. Say that I want him kind of peeking in from the corner up here. Again, I can use my transform command, and we can use those horizontal and vertical flips in order to get him to kind of fit up here in the corner. But again, you can put him wherever you want. I'm going to again use that shift key as I stretch just to make sure I keep those proportions locked. And then I need to add swiper again. And I'm going to make him a little bit bigger. And maybe I want him facing the opposite direction. Oops, not upside down, but facing this way. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take him and put him up here kind of at the top in the mountains, peeking around. All right, so the last thing that I'm going to do from here is I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit of text, and it can be whatever you want. I'm going to grab that text tool. Again, I can choose the style of font from this drop-down menu, and I can also change the size as well as the color of the font and the alignment here up at the top. And I'm just going to drop my cursor down here, and I'm going to make this a little bit larger, and I'm just going to type Dora, Dora, Dora. Now I can use the transform command on my text as well to stretch this to fit into the space that I want, which is kind of a handy little trick. Instead of having to try to guess what the pixel width is going to be and whatnot in that font option. So from here, you know, you can always go in and add your layer styles. So I could add a stroke if I wanted to do that. Maybe I want it to match the color of her shirt. Drop shadows are always a fun thing to add, and again I can come in here and play with how that looks. The other thing I can do is I can also change the blending mode, and I know for additive color we used that color option, but if you click through some of these different options, okay, you can get some different effects with your font that might be more desirable than just having it sitting on top of your text. That incorporates it a little better into your design. So once I have my pieces all placed and I'm pleased with them, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to save this as a JPEG. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I can just call this Selection Practice. Save it as a JPEG, say save, and OK. And I'm also going to go ahead and just take a screenshot of my image and the layers panel over here to the right. And now you should have a fun collage, and hopefully you learned a little bit about being able to take and put things and move things around on a canvas so that you can use this in the future for fun projects. Enjoy!